What is love? That's the big one. I want to hear God's answer to that one. I want to hear the answers to how do you actively love someone? How can you tell when someone loves you? How can you love someone without first loving yourself? What does it mean to love yourself? Is love a feeling or an action? It is definitely a verb, as much as jump is a verb. But it's not as distinctive as jump, because love is an action in a hug. Love is an action in washing someone's feet. It's an action in sitting down and listening to someone's day, even when your day is 10 times worse. That's love. To the first of my lovers on the line for you, and the last of my lovers, I light candles still, and the bells will be ringing on a line for you, for the first of my lovers and the last, and the bells will be ringing on a line for you, for the first of my lovers and the last.
Major support for The Mystery of Love is provided by the Fetzer Institute as part of its campaign for love and forgiveness, transforming individuals and communities. Additional support provided by Southwest Airlines, offering 2,900 daily non-stop flights to 60 destinations coast to coast. The Betsy Gordon Foundation, supporting nonprofit organizations working for the benefit of humanity. And by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Every life is a love story, or contains one, for better and for worse. Part biography, and part a work of the imagination. It can be a comedy that ends with living happily ever after, or a tragedy ending in death. In popular culture, one type of love, passionate sexual romance, is prized above all.
I never knew it could be like this. Nobody ever kissed me the way you do.
But there are many kinds of love that give shape and meaning to life. Passionate connections that define what we value as human beings. Most of all, love is a question, with libraries filled with answers. Still, love remains a mystery that eludes understanding. In a world that seems headed toward mass self-destruction, we need to explore the force that holds things together, the positive force of love. We need to expand our definition of love, including love and passion's dark side. We need to recognize and honor equally the many loves that help create a healthy life and society. We need to put love on the public agenda. In this program, we'll see real love stories, different loves, all important, if not equally told or sold in the popular media.
Arthur Koestler said if I could take one man off the hook in the trains going to the concentration camps, if I could just get in there and take one man off the hook, I would have done what I need to do as a human being. Is that the ultimate act of love, saving one life? I don't know.
I think people don't feel that they have permission to talk about something that makes them as vulnerable as love, so we don't usually talk about it in public. I once had the idea of having a red bench in every corporation, and the red bench would be an invitation to conversations that matter. So if you sat on the red bench, you were saying, I'm open to a conversation about love, or a conversation about truth, or something that matters to me.
Sometimes the red bench of love and truth is on an airplane. Meet Emily Lodine and Gary Overgaard of Minnesota.
I guess when I went on this trip, I definitely didn't intend on looking for a wife, but it's just the way things happened. I had bought a new farm sprayer from Denmark, and part of the deal was got a free trip to go to Denmark to see the sprayers manufactured over there. So myself and the dealer went together, and Emily boarded the plane in Chicago, and it just happened that she ended up sitting by me. She told me she was an opera singer. Of course, then she asked me what I did, and I told her I was a farmer.
He, all 6 feet, 5 of him, whatever it is, he was bunched into the little middle section, and his friend was on the window seat, and I was on the aisle, and we introduced each other, and I thought, this guy's really sort of cute.
When she told me she was an opera singer, I leaned over to my buddy to the left of me, was sitting by the aisle or the window seat, and I said, I think this is going to be a long, boring flight, because I said, this gal's an opera singer. I figured we wouldn't have much to talk about.
And then it's, what do you do, and what do you do? And we got talking, and we talked the whole trip, and I think it's at least 7.5 hours. And we were smitten after 7.5 hours.
It felt like it was like only 2 minutes, because time flew. I know that, so.
He's a former bachelor Norwegian farmer, and they tend to be bashful. And you have to chase them until they catch you, if you know what I mean.
I didn't think maybe nothing would ever happen about this, because I thought maybe it was too far of a long-distance relationship anyway. But when I had got home, she had already left a message on my answering service, so she had contacted me first. And then, so I called her back, and then we just kind of gradually kept corresponding, and one thing led to another, and then I guess, bingo, we ended up getting married.
When I first told my best friends I was moving to Minnesota, I was marrying a farmer, I was going to just change my whole life, they were, what's the right word, flummoxed, bewildered, horrified. They couldn't believe I was giving up everything and going out there. And I sort of, I'd have an occasional doubt and say, is this really what I want to do? The first time I came out in beautiful weather, grass was green, and I remember walking outside and saying, oh my gosh, this is so gorgeous out here in Mother Nature. And I thought of Julie Andrews in The Sound of Music, and she's up on top of the mountain, and she's got her dirndl skirt on and her little prim haircut, and she's just twirling around and singing, the hills are alive with the sound of music, that we all know that bit. And lo and behold, behind me is a voice. He says, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm just enjoying the space. It's so sumptuously beautiful out here. And he said, don't do that. It scares the pigs and it takes weight off of them. So I thought immediately, I guess I better listen to what the farmer says. So I have stopped doing these outdoor impromptu performances. I sing in the house. The hogs get to make their noise outside of the house, and never the twain shall meet.
It's a strong odor, I guess. I don't know how else you want to describe it. If you're not used to a pig smell, it's different, but you don't want to be in here too long because it gets in your clothes after a while. If you want to be a farmer, you got to love it or you got to leave it. You're out here in the country, as you can see, it's wide open spaces. You kind of see what you're doing. You get a little baby pig in, and you get to watch that pig grow all the way up, and then you get to take it to market. Plant the crop, it comes up, turns green, and in the fall you harvest the crop and get the grain out.
My mother was actually rather upset in the beginning. She said, you're giving up everything. You've worked so hard to make a career in Chicago. And I see her point because she's a mom. I think my passion about singing has deepened because I took a lot of it for granted in Chicago, and I would get, pickup jobs, weddings and funerals, and some chorus would call me and can you come sing this, and they'd want a soloist. And it all sort of came easily to me, and I really took it for granted. And now that I'm out of that scene into this one, it makes me appreciate every job I go out on. I took a risk thinking, would this work out? And it has actually helped my career to get out of Chicago. I'm still there a lot, but now I'm more all over the country singing.
always think of operas as for somebody that's nobody lives in the country, but I guess I appreciate it more than I used to, because it's got a story, and it's very interesting, yeah.
I can't really put my finger on what makes it work, because we are extremely different, and our businesses could not be more different. But when I met him, I felt a huge respect for what he does. I mean, I think farming is one of the most noble things that one can do, to make food for other people. I felt a huge respect from him. He was very impressed with what I did. He didn't totally understand it, but I don't totally understand farming.
Last evening we had some temperatures that stayed around mid-60s to lower 70s, and that's what we need now, some warmer temps, and I could see just during the night how the corn grew. Probably sounds kind of crazy to some people, but as a farmer, you can kind of see that when you're driving down the road. You can tell the corn grew overnight.
Again, after being married 9 years, I'm still crazy about him. I think he is so adorable, especially when he's doing this farming thing, going down the road on the back of the tractor, and it has to be a tractor without a cab, because then I can see every part of him. And he's pretty darn cute. Well, sometimes I wish you'd talk a little more. I wish maybe be a little more, give me a hug more than once a fiscal year. I'm just kidding. That's how you're brought up. I mean, I understand that. I don't know. I don't really like to dwell on the down stuff, because the good stuff is so good, and you just sort of work with the other stuff. Everybody's got, I'm sure I can be impossible, right?
No.
Men and women express their love very differently, but they all want to be cared for. And sometimes men are afraid of entrapment, and women are afraid of abandonment. And as one of my teachers said, a good marriage is when the neuroses mesh.
What happens in love is that you feel like you're losing your identity. But what is really happening is that you're gaining your identity unself-conscious of it. That is, you're not focused on who you are, but in being who you are, you experience it sometimes for the first time.
The Buddhists say during their wedding ceremonies, you should marry the whole world. But you can only do that through one person. The rabbis have a very similar expression. The whole world is a chuppah. The whole world is a wedding canopy. So Ketsu Norman Fisher, who is a Zen master, is actually my partner at the meditation center that we have at our synagogue. Norman wrote a beautiful poem on the morning of his own wedding. It said, of all the women in all the world, delicate in their various encasings of body, of mind, this one, bent asleep before me in the bed, is the one through whom all must be loved, as I have promised.
The need to love and be loved begins at the moment of birth. That moment, we lose the embracing safety, the bliss of the mother's womb. We are born into the world alone, naked, and vulnerable. We survive only by connection to others. It doesn't take a poster-perfect, intact family, mom, dad, and 2.4 children to create a loving home. The Swan family of Maryland has faced separation.